If there's a city that blends regal history with coffeehouse comfort, it's Vienna, Austria. A place where Mozart once composed, empires once ruled, and yeah, we arrived in the middle of a natural disaster.
We have made it to a very wet and rainy Vienna, Austria. There's a lot of rain expected here in the next couple days, so we are keeping an eye on that.
We landed in Austria's capital just as the skies opened up and the river began to rise, and it didn't stop. While we were dreaming of palaces and pastries, Austria was hit by its worst flooding in decades. Plans? Who are they? Day trips? Rearranged, cancelled. But here's the thing about travel. It never goes exactly how you expect. So instead of letting this storm ruin our time here, we have to get creative. There are world-class museums to explore. I'm sure amongst this opulent cafe culture, there are some cozy cafes, hidden gems that only the locals know about. This will be a different kind of adventure. One where we have to look around and pivot and find the magic in the unexpected.
So we arrived at Vienna yesterday and I'm so excited. I've heard it's the most amazing walkable city. There's so much natural beauty to see if you just walk around and look. Unfortunately, there's extreme rainfall flooding warning across all of Central Europe, with Austria being hit the hardest. Literally, like, Google Maps is showing warnings. We've been getting alert on our phone. So that definitely changes how I was picturing viewing Vienna. But I think we're going to try to make the most of it. We're going to see. Kind of another update is Catherine was supposed to be here these were kind of her last 3 days with us. But the weather is terrible. And then also Air Canada, which is what she's supposed to be flying home with on Monday, is going into a strike. So they gave opportunity for people to rebook. And I think she just thought, well, it's not going to be good weather. And I know I can get home today, where if I wait and see what happens with the strike, I might not be able to. So she left rather abruptly. It was at 11 o'clock last night. Made the decision that she was getting on a flight at 10:30 this morning. So that is travel, baby. Flying by the seat of your pants, seeing what happens. So we had an amazing trip with her, an amazing time. And it definitely feels a bit bittersweet. The weather is matching our feelings.
And see how much we can do when it's raining.
Yeah, we have a really cool accommodation that we'll give you a little tour of later. So if it ends up having to be kind of cozy in there, it is what it is. But we're starting with Vienna has an amazing coffee culture. From my interpretation, it's kind of like coffee and a little cake situation. So it's 9:30 a.m. and I am having a cake. First off, I'm having an apple cake. This looks very similar to me of the Dutch apple cake that I love.
Apple tart in the Netherlands.
Oh, I was like, here, I think they say cake. Yeah, in the Netherlands, apple tart. It's kind of like, I always feel like the Dutch one is a mix between an American apple pie and a cake. So we'll see what this is. Okay, this is even more of a mix between the Dutch one and an American apple pie. Like, it's much denser in the middle, like more like an apple pie filling, but the crust is slightly cakey. Really delicious. It has little almonds on top, so delicious.
I got a vanilla croissant, very intriguing to me. And even though it's cold and rainy, an iced latte can never go wrong with iced coffee. It's always iced.
I think we're going to go to a museum after this, because that seems like a good indoor activity. We'll really just have to see, because it's supposed to be the light part of rain of the day, and it is rough out there. So stay along.
We also noticed here at the coffee shop that there is signs on all the tables near the windows that say no laptops, so you're not allowed them if you're near the window. But on all the ones that are more tucked into the restaurant, you are allowed. That's something that we've seen a lot around Europe. We've never seen in North America.
So we decided going to a museum is the best way to kind of escape the rain. And I think everyone in Vienna had the same idea. But we're undercover. Look at how beautiful and incredible this is above us. There's no rain on our head, so can't complain.
We made it to the Sisi Museum. There she is, the woman of the hour, Sisi. So we got our ticket, and the next entrance time is only 20 minutes away, which based on this line, I was thinking it was going to be longer. I was like, are we not going to be able to get in until 3?
And based on her face, she was like, the next entrance time is 20 minutes. I was like, great.
Yeah, so we just have a little wait, and then we're going to go and see Sisi. We got our audio guides, and we're heading in. Once inside the Hofburg Palace, the noise of the city starts to disappear. You're not just walking into a museum, you're stepping into an empire. This was the heart of the Habsburg dynasty, one of the most powerful ruling families in European history, and tucked within it lies the Sisi Museum, a space dedicated to Austria's most beloved and maybe most misunderstood empress. Elizabeth of Bavaria, or Sisi as she's better known, wasn't your typical royal. This is a replica of a ball gown that Sisi wore because very few of the actual ball gowns have been preserved. Married to Emperor Franz Joseph at just 16, she was catapulted into the spotlight, her every move scrutinized, known for her beauty, her specific fitness routine, her floor-length hair. But beneath it all, there are stories that depict a certain restlessness. Things are getting crazy in here. Confined by palace life and haunted by personal tragedy, Sisi was a reluctant empress who really longed for freedom more than any fame. The museum takes you through some of these stories, her letters, dresses, and personal possessions. Through them we start to see the woman behind them. This is a reconstruction of the saloon car that was created to take her across Europe. A woman ahead of her time, fiercely intelligent, worldly, and endlessly complex. And the museum is more than just her story. It's a glimpse into imperial Vienna itself. The etiquette, the architecture, the expectations, the excess, the rooms where royals once lived and hid their pain behind protocol. As we moved from room to room, listening through our headsets, it felt like stepping through pages of a novel. We kept getting shoved around by a ginormous tour group, pictured here, and now they're blocking up the whole path even though we let them go in front. It's just too much.
They're huge, and when they want to stop, they block the entire thing. Nobody can get past, and you kind of have to wait for them, which is fine.
Like causing a massive blockade.
When they are ready to go, like, you literally get pushed out of the way. So it's just like a little bit like there's other people in the museum besides just this tour, and it's not just like, oh, the people of the tour, it's like the tour guide is doing it.
It's too much. I'm like, we're all just trying to experience Sisi, and we're all just trying to have fun with Sisi. And I was so happy to see that the gift shop at the Sisi Museum lived up to how good the museum was. Do not tempt me. I need a little Sisi merch. Look at this, a compact, a lip balm with Sisi. So bougie. That lip balm is a potential. So I went with the Sisi lip balm, branded, Icon, and the Sisi mints. Mainly because I want this little box to put rings after. The history of Sisi. No, I'm just kidding. So we just finished at the Sisi Museum here in Vienna.
It was really beautiful. Like,
it was beautifully done too. I really liked how it was like a museum dedicated to her life story. And then we entered the more sort of like practical, real apartments and got more of the other people's story.
Yeah, and just more of like, oh, here's a royal castle. Like, yes. And it was well done that if you didn't know anything about her, you got like a taste of like what her life was like, and enough that maybe even you would go look up more. But if you knew enough about her or knew some stuff, there were some new interesting like tidbits, and there were some like artifacts that were like cool to see, and like portraits that were really cool to see. And her jewelry and outfits, like some of the mourning pieces were so beautiful and so like unique to see. I totally agree. Yeah, it was so busy, as we maybe should have expected, but honestly maybe one of the busiest museums I've ever been to, because 100%. It is a Saturday. Yeah. It's torrentially raining here in Vienna. Yeah. And this is not... It's not like, like a niche museum. It's part of the like Vienna like
The
card
tour,
and stuff like that, but crazy busy.
Yeah.
You got a time slot, so they're definitely trying to like space people out, but there's certain parts that it's like, no, there's maybe like 4 times the amount of people in here that
Then
need
should
to
be. Yeah.
and it's honestly like a little bit of like almost a safety concern. If there was some sort of like
Emergency,
a fire, even like a medical emergency,
there's no getting in, there's no
you're
getting,
getting out. And there's certain rooms that are dark because of like the artifacts in there to preserve it, but they're like dark and narrow, and you're literally like this to people. I would recommend this museum for sure, and I'm like very fascinated by Sisi as like a historical character, and so this was one of the big things I wanted to do in Vienna, and I did think it like lived up to that. But I would recommend either like getting here right at 9, maybe it would be better, or a weekday.
Yeah, and I feel like you had a really good point about back to like the museum topic, what was included in the story.
I think it's just it was a good reminder because I had like listened to some podcasts, watched a documentary on her and stuff. So I had like a good view of like who she is and some things. And it was very interesting to me what they chose to leave out of the museum.
Oh.
Like it was some parts that were maybe that I feel were very important to the story. They would just like kind of leave out, and then they would make like kind of a weird comment about it. But it's like, again, it's from the point of view of like Austria. Like, so they are in favor of like their monarchy and she is like the others. It's just like if the royal family did a museum in 100 years of Princess Diana. It's like they're gonna be like, yeah, she was incredible, everyone loved her, but they're not necessarily gonna share maybe like, oh, and Charles was cheating on her the entire time. You know, like certain stuff even about her relationship to Hungary that was like really left out.
Yeah,
they like mentioned it slightly, but like,
and we just came from there, so we got a bit of that story coming here, and like such a different perspective of her and her story coming from Hungary. So it was interesting to see the other side of it.
That's the other thing, is we have been traveling for the last like month and a half in territories that were occupied by like the Austrian Hungarian Empire, and hearing like Croatia's perspective on that, Budapest, Slovenia, is like all these countries that were occupied by that empire, and have said over and over again that it's like it was an occupation. And then coming here, that's not really the perspective as much, or at least in this museum.
Not even hyped up. Certain things were much more just like brushed over or like gilded over to just be like, yeah, and he really did what he needed to do, and he really stepped up to the plate and got it done for all the nations. And it's like, okay, from this perspective, yes, but that is one side of the perspective for sure after what we've been like learning these past few months.
And I think, certain things that they left out of Sisi's story that I feel were important, things that would have made the like Austrian Empire like look more unfavorable or maybe more embarrassing to them. They kind of highlighted she's really kooky, and I'm like, that's kind of like one small perspective of her. Yeah, she was like, did have lots of acts of service and like cared about like the mentally ill, and like
her experience like traveling and going to so many places of the world was framed from a very specific perspective.
They kind of played her off as like an absentee mother, which is, again, from what I have heard in like other sources, is not really the vibe. Like it was more like she wanted to be involved and the kids were kind of like taken from her and to be raised as like children of the empire, but like that wasn't really her choice. And they were like, the only kid she really connected with was her last kid. I was like, yeah, that was the only kid she was allowed to raise. It's like hard to say who's true. Like I've heard one perspective, this is their perspective, and it's just like, it's history, you don't really know what is the truth.
As a final thought, it really reminds me back to our video on the Phoninger Museum about how much perspectives can shape your view of not only art but of history. And this museum had a really strong through line, but it was from a very specific perspective, and I think that really shapes the feeling you get coming out of it and the feeling you get going through it. It's so interesting.
I think if this exact museum was in Budapest, because they
totally
love her there, would have a
completely
really
different tone.
So I think it's just always important is like, learn things, take things with a grain of salt, and think really critically about like what you are viewing everywhere you go. Because there's always more sides to the story. There's
one side, there's another side, and there's someone in the middle, something in the middle.
And that might be the truth.
In this case, it's Sisi, baby. Okay, we're gonna go find some food.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
kind of
getting
hungry.
delusional.
And I read this sign as everyone was looking at the sign. It's like, it's forbidden to linger on these steps at the exit. And I was like this.
And then we'd also look it down here.
We are all lingering, y'all. We are
It's
all
because it's
lingering.
raining, so everyone's trying to figure out, like, what are
What's
we
the
doing
next
next
plan?
before we go out into the cold.
Yeah.
Somehow this is worse and better.
Oh!
It's crazy. The rain is actually not that bad.
It's the wind.
And then the rain is launching it. I'm like,
Oh my god! So many cakes at McDonald's. It really is giving coffee and cake culture. Wow.
this is how wet Jonathan's pants are after literally being in the rain for 2 minutes.
We literally walked 2 blocks from eating to home, and I'm dripping.
The bottom.
I soaked up a puddle.
Like, that's crazy.
I'm glad that we brought our heat tech leggings for this part of the trip, because without these,
It would have been bad.
bad.
And we turn around. See, it's not as bad in the back. Like, that must be... It was like the rain was pelting at us. So it's kind of fun. We'll do a more tour, but here's our little pod. There's a TV right there. So we're going to watch some movies and be cozy.
Oh no, this is wet. Going to get us food at the closest food place we could find. I woke up this morning and I had accidentally slept in till 1:30 p.m. I am not the type of person who can sleep in that late usually, so I think my body and my mind, my soul just needed it. And honestly, we have been go the past 2 weeks while Catherine's been here. So it's nice to just have a day where we are sleeping in, doing nothing. The plan is to go get coffee and cake, as is tradition here in Vienna. I think we're gonna go walk down by the river because there is lots more people out walking this morning, as it's like finally stopped raining after 3 days, and apparently the water levels are really high. We wandered around till we found a cafe with an open seat. And did you know that coffeehouse and cafe culture has been a thing here in Vienna since 1683? After the Ottoman siege of Vienna, soldiers found bags of coffee beans left behind, and that led to the establishment of numerous coffeehouses. The river is not looking too scary, but it's definitely high when you look at the staircases. Downpours in Austria matched nearly a whole month's worth of rain in just 5 days. That's nearly 5 times the normal September average. Vienna wasn't the only city grappling with this chaos. All across Central Europe, devastation and damage was caused, entire towns evacuated and rail lines severed. That's gonna throw a wrench in our travel plans upcoming. But here's where it gets impressive. In Vienna, the city's flood defenses, built for a 5,000-year flood with a capacity of 14,000 cubic meters per second, handled around 10,000, virtually keeping Vienna from any devastating damage. Austria has since boosted its disaster fund to 1 billion euros to aid relief and future readiness. Even though these floods happened a year ago, our thoughts are still with everyone who was affected. I have been traveling for the past 3 months through many different countries at this point, all the way from Albania up to Vienna now, through many different languages at this point. And I have a question. Why is ciao used across every country? It's the universal goodbye. Is that just because ciao is like the best, nicest, easiest way to say goodbye? Is that the universal goodbye? Is there something I'm missing? Because everywhere we go, people use ciao. Not just in Italy. Who would have thought? So you learn a few things from accidentally traveling somewhere in an environmental disaster, like where to get extra socks in the city, or the phrase, "you're not made of sugar," as the Dutch would say. But seriously, you learn that travel is not always picture perfect. It's not always what you planned or what you imagined, but sometimes that's the best part of it. when the rain won't let up, we chase history in grand museums. When our plans are canceled or rearranged, we find moments that weren't even on the radar, and sometimes they're the best ones. When the sky is finally clear, we're left with a story that is so much better than we could have ever come up with. Click that like button and hit that subscribe button, because next week we have the chance to actually explore more of what Vienna has to offer, from unique attractions to the best food and treats. And with all this flooding, our plans may need to continue to change. Because of the flooding all over Central Europe, our train is canceled. Doing the crack chewing, and I'm like, sorry, that's my sissy mint. We're at the 5-minute mark. The arm is collapsing. I need to do some arm exercises.